start the stream. Make sure that pushes through. All right, it's claiming excellent connection. We'll see. We'll see what YouTube's definition of excellent.
I love how you use the word claim.
Right.
Claiming excellent connection. But let's see first.
We'll see about that. All right, and now, because I am on a laptop and not a dual monitor, because I'm not a super fancy streamer, I'm gonna pull up the stream on my literal cell phone, and we're gonna monitor the stream health from my cell phone. All right, let's see if we can get this to work. All right, so okay, we got this. That's sorted. Now I can do here. Could do this. Click on live. Pull up YouTube. Love how I have caps lock on still. They were doing work by my house the other day, and they literally cut the whatever the internet cable is for the neighborhood. Could like actually split the damn thing in half. I don't know how the dude that cut it didn't accidentally kill himself. Okay, here we go. So we got, looks like everything's going through. Stream says it's live. We got viewers in here. Let's see if I could pull it. There we go. Okay, so now I can see it on my page. Share. Gonna. What is all this stuff? We're just gonna copy the link. And I'll throw that on Twitter. I'll tag you in the tweet, and we'll get everything going.
You know, it feels really good being back in the whole rhythm of doing the prospect recaps and schedules every morning.
Dude, doesn't it? I love waking up to those tweets.
They don't get a lot of likes or retweets or comments, but every time I skip a day, I have people saying, "Where's the schedule?"
Right.
So it's definitely, people are definitely, looking for them.
Oh, dude, I look for them because I usually, I'm up for school or work around 6 in the morning, so I get to wake up and see that. It's actually nice.
And then last year I remember asking people if they had any suggestions of stuff that I could maybe add to it, and one person said maybe you could add like your game of the day suggestion.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, that's a bit pompous. And then he goes, no, just do it. And I've been doing it ever since.
Right.
And people are like, I'm so happy that you actually picked the game for me.
Well, dude, I'll tell you, a big thing right now is, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm definitely using it too, is like the jailbroken Fire Sticks. Like, because I could watch, if I wanted to, I could go watch local news in Turkey. If I want, like, you literally have access to everything, AHL, like any CHL, the Liga, SHL, KHL, like, so it's actually cool because now not only do I get to see who's playing, thanks to you posting those, but I could just decide, you know what, maybe I'll go watch Ottman today, I'll go watch Robertson. Yeah, just, it's freaking awesome, dude. I love it.
By the way, Kraftsov's in the lineup tonight.
Is that so? Who's in net?
Gallant confirms Halak will be in net and Kraftsov will be in today versus Columbus.
Okay, all right. So we got Halak in net. All right, you know what? I'm down with that. I'm all right with giving Halak another start.
Look, Halak played a good game against Winnipeg. He was not the reason we lost that game.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, I'm a big fan of that Halak signing. I just think it's nice to have like a steady backup goalie because I mean it sucks, but Georgiev was super erratic for the last.
I still think it's hilarious that Yaroslav Halak was traded for a draft pick, later used to draft Igor Shesterkin.
Wait, what? No freaking
When Yaroslav Halak was traded from, I think, the Islanders gave up a 4th round pick for Halak in 2014.
Right.
And then that pick ended up with the Rangers, and they used that to draft Igor Shesterkin.
You're not kidding. I'm looking at it right now. No shit. So this, let's see the. So it went from the Blackhawks to the Islanders for Pierre-Marc Bouchard and Peter Regan, and then Islanders to Capitals for Yaro Halak. No shit. And then Capitals with a 4th round, so 2 4ths for a 3rd. The 3rd round pick was Nathan Walker. And the 4th round pick was Igor Shesterkin and Ryan Mantha. Look at that, dude. No shit. That's actually really interesting. I did not know that. That's another talk about full circle, like you were saying earlier.
that trade was 8 years ago. I tweeted about that, and then a week later, Steve Dangle did a trade tree video about it.
Really? No shit. Dude, I love his trade tree videos. I love going through those.
The funny thing about the trade tree video is that there's 3 other Rangers in that trade tree.
Really? I gotta go through and watch that now, dude. I live for his freaking trade tree videos. I love watching those.
Dude, if I ever go to Toronto, I want to meet him.
He just seems like such a chill dude.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's like oh my god. All right, let me go on Twitter and make sure that tweet went through, because I sent out a tweet. Hopefully, get people in here. Oh, let's see. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yep. Oh crap. I wonder who you said it was. VC coming out.
I think it's VZ. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It should be Blay, but it will be VZ.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. Blay little slow start for him. Slow start.
Blay sucks, dude. Blay's just Tanner Glass with a higher salary.
I like that. Dude, what a freaking shame. And I'm rooting for him, don't get me wrong, but it hurts my heart to see how freaking good Buchnevich is doing.
That trade sucked on the day it happened, and it hasn't aged well.
No, it hasn't. It actually continues to get worse somehow.
But people defend it anyway. You could go, oh no, we didn't have the cap space.
That's not true.
Dude, we didn't use the cap space all season after we traded Buchnevich away.
Dude, 100%. Well, Hockey Stat Miner, like, he did a really good job of covering, like, the Rangers. He still does, the Rangers cap space. The Rangers had enough money last year to where we could have eaten a really shitty contract and gotten a draft pick just for eating a shitty contract. Like what was stopping us from maybe doing, like, who was it? Andrew Ladd, I would think was on an expiring deal. We could have eaten Andrew Ladd's contract and gotten a pick out of it because we had so much cap space, and yet we did nothing with it. We traded Buchnevich for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking sucked. For 18 games of Sammy Blais last year, and a tease that he might have played in the playoffs, and he never did. God, that sucked.
Hold on. Let me find one more thing here. Oh, I love that Arbor Xhekaj had a goal and an assist last night for Montreal.
Dude, that kid's, first of all, tough as nails, too. Holy hell.
I added him to my fantasy team.
Right.
Literally 2 days ago.
Are you serious? Oh my god. Hey, so do you have one of those leagues where they you get points for hits and stuff like at blocks and all that? Oh, dude, so you're probably loving it right now. Oh my god. I can't believe the way that kid ragdolled Cassian. That was so sick.
Yeah, no, Arbor Xhekaj was a good pickup for me. Let me see. Shit. Who was that in response to? I'll find it after we record. But
okay,
I put together a team on Cap Friendly's Armchair GM.
Right.
That includes Buchnevich on this team instead of Goudreau and Reeves.
Oh God, I wish.
And financially, it fits even with the extensions for Lafreniere, Hedel, and Miller next season.
A man could freaking dream, dude. I still could not because, like, what was it? It was like, he doesn't fit in, like, Buchnevich, he's not going to fit into this team. He's not a this, he's not a that. Meanwhile, last year in freaking St. Louis, like we all thought was going to happen, 30 goals, 76.
He was on pace for 75 points over a full season in New York the last 2 seasons.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand, like, why. And dude, he's almost a point a game.
It was no surprise. It was no surprise at all that he was going to put up numbers there.
Well, so years ago, like one of my first YouTube videos that ever got like a pretty okay amount of views for considering where I'm at was I did oh my god, I did it 2 or 3 years in a row. It was how Pavel Buchnevich could be the next Kuznetsov/Tarasenko, and I ran these numbers for their first, second, and third years in the NHL. And every single year, Buchnevich, for goals per 60, assists per 60, and points per 60, sat in the middle of all of them in their production. And now he literally is becoming what I did in those videos all those years ago, except we do not get to bear, we don't get the fruits of our labor. St. Louis does.
Yeah. Yeah. And, here's the thing with that trade, right?
Mm.
It would have been a bet. I wouldn't complain about it if we either used the cap space or got a better return.
Yep.
Or at least use the open roster spot for one of our top prospects. But no, we didn't use the cap space. We only got a second round pick and a fourth line winger.
Yep.
And we still had Sammy Blais and Dryden Hunt in the top 6 after that trade.
Yep. And that's,
so every reason you can use to justify the trade has been nullified by just the piss poor management.
Yep. And the second round pick we got with Blais, I'm just looking at it now, was included in the Cop trade.
Yeah.
So that's a dead asset right there.
I mean, that's fine. It's still a second round pick you got. That's still the value you received.
Right.
But it should have been a first round pick in Sammy Blais or a second round pick and a better prospect.
Mm-hmm. And the first round pick that we traded, I'm just now looking at this. The first round pick we traded in the Cop deal was Brad Lambert, and that was the kid that I was super, super high on, who I thought was going to drop to the second round somehow. And
the but there's no guarantee that the Rangers would have picked him with that same pick.
Of course. But man, I love that Lambert kid, dude. He's got 2 goals in 3 games in the AHL so far. 18-year-old, as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he's doing better than Kakko when he was that age.
Yes, dude. It
goes to show you that this team doesn't know how to manage prospects.
No. It's actually embarrassing how bad they are at managing prospects. Dude, it's awful. It's disgusting. But all right, let me do this. Let me go ahead and kill that. Okay, I'm gonna. I shared the slideshow with you, right? Yes, I did. Okay.
No, but it's fine. We'll just go over the. I have the images I sent you. I have it here anyway.
Okay. Beautiful. So we'll run. Let's see. Because we still got people.
Just give me the order in which we're going to cover them.
So we got Ottman, Barbashev, McConnell-Barker, Robertson, and to finish off with Sikora.
Okay. So let me open their elite prospect pages then. By the way, Sikora had a goal today.
No shit. What time did he? Oh, because he played super early, right.
His team lost 8-1. He had a goal, and he was a +0. So
hell, it worked.
He scored a power play goal, by the way, so he wasn't on the ice for any of the goals against.
Bet. All right, right on. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Let's see, McConnell-Barker, Robertson, and then Sikora. Okay,
yep.
Cool. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right. I sent you the tweet with the link to the live stream in it too. I think let me make sure I tagged you in the tweet too. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. All right. Let's do it. All right, guys. Here we go. Back at it with Statboy Steven, highlighting the New York Rangers' top prospects to watch. Ignore the title of this slideshow. The New York Rangers' top prospects to watch for the 2022-2023 season. For those of you, and I don't know how this would physically be possible, because if you're a Rangers fan, you're not doing it right if you're not following Statboy Steven on Twitter. The future is bright for the Rangers, and if you want to know about your top prospects, follow my man Steven on Twitter. You'll learn about all things, everything. Who's playing, when, where, why, and how. And dude, I'm like tripping over my words. I'm actually so excited to get into this. We did this a year ago where we did the lesser known Rangers prospects. And almost all of those prospects that we reviewed ended up having pretty solid seasons. Outside of maybe, who's the one kid that we released? Justin Richards. He's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that did not reach where we thought he reached. But this time around, we're doing the prospects to watch this season. If you follow Statboy Steven on Twitter, you'll be able to see when these players are playing their games and how they do that day. He posts the final stat line for all the players. If you're like me and you have an Amazon Fire Stick that may or may not have some funny stuff on it, you'll be able to watch them yourself. If not, go find some illegal streams online. We'll make it work. Either way, let's get right into it. Starting off with Brennan Othman, Statboy Steven's boy. Go ahead, break him down for us. What you got?
Yeah, so Othman is, of course, joined the Rangers for preseason in September. Played in a couple of preseason games, ended up with 2 assists. Was then sent back to juniors to play for the Flint Firebirds in the OHL again. He's the captain of the Flint Firebirds. And in the first 10 games of the season, he has 8 goals and 9 assists for 17 points, which over the course of the season, his projection would be 54 goals, 61 assists for 115 points.
It's an okay year.
Yeah, and he got a point in all but one game this season. The team's performance is a bit up and down. You know, they've won 5 and they lost 5, so they're 5-5-0. But Brennan Othman is really not the reason they're losing those games. I think on yesterday, he had a game where he had 13 shots on goal.
Oh my God.
So the guy's just firing on all cylinders, and when you watch him out there, he's so noticeable. At even strength on the penalty kill, on the power play, he's making things happen. He's creating turnovers, and yeah, the guy is just dominating in the OHL as we expected him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a guy to definitely keep an eye on. He is eligible to play for Canada in the World Juniors again this upcoming December. I do expect him to play if he gets if they send him an invitation. I don't see how they couldn't.
Yeah, he'll probably rock the sea maybe.
Of course, he won gold with Canada over the summer in the postponed World Juniors for 2022. And yeah, next year I do expect him to make a case for a spot on the starting lineup come September.
Would certainly hope so, because if he doesn't make the top 9, that would likely mean that Gaudreau, VC, or lovely Sammy Blais would be in the top.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed it's going to be Ottman.
and this is, he was probably better than most bottom 6 players in preseason. But
absolutely.
The contract situation plays into the decision. Kravtsov is on an ELC. His contract can slide 1 more year. So that puts him in a different position than someone like Kravtsov,
right,
who's on a 1-year deal. He's no longer waiver eligible, so they cannot just send him down or to Russia without it affecting his contract. But yeah, Othman looked really good in preseason.
He was fun to watch, dude.
Yeah. He had 2 assists in I think the first preseason game.
Yep.
One on the power play, one on the penalty kill.
The penalty kill. Yep. That's the penalty kill assist. The one I remember. He shoveled that over. Who was it? Keandre Miller. He shoveled it over
to Keandre Miller, and the other assist he got on the Jimmy Vesey goal.
Yes, that was that sharp angle one, right? That really fun. Yep. Oh my God, dude. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this Ottman kid. I had mentioned it to you earlier. I see a much more skilled and a much more top 6 efficient, potentially, Ryan Callahan out of Brendan Ottman in terms of leadership. Just the way he plays the game, he can play in any scenario you put him in, and I'm excited for this kid, dude. He's fun.
He plays both sides. He can play left wing, right wing. It's not just his physicality that stands out, but also his shot. He has a really good shot. His precision on that snipe is very interesting, and I hope that translates to the NHL. But the upcoming season with Flint. We'll see what happens there. The Rangers can recall him when his season ends.
Okay.
So the Flint Firebirds, if I remember correctly, play their last game of the regular season on March 25th, I think.
Okay.
So after that, the Rangers still play 8 regular season games. So they could call him up, have him play in 8 regular season games without it affecting his contract status. And then going into the playoffs, they can see if he's actually a contributing factor or not. And then they can make a decision there. But interesting to watch his development. This is probably the most NHL ready prospect not yet playing pro hockey.
I could agree there. And to tell you the truth, and you mentioned earlier, the Firebirds are 5-5 right now, correct?
Yeah.
So most likely, and Flint probably will not be making the OHL playoffs. So maybe we will see Brendan Ottman in a Rangers jersey.
It is. I have to say, it is still early, and the Flint Firebirds had a really bad start last season too, and they still made it. They eventually made it to the conference finals in the OHL.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens there, but no, Othman the last 4 games, has been really noticeable. He had only 1 game this season with just a single shot on goal.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm excited about this kid.
Yeah, he's had 3 shots on goal 3 times.
Jesus.
4 shots on goal once, 5 shots on goal once, 7 shots on goal 3 times, and then, as I said, I think it was Friday's game, 13 shots on goal.
That's insane. Yeah. Brendan Ottman, ladies and gentlemen. All right, moving on. Maxim Barbashev. Currently, my favorite Rangers prospect. Steven, what do you have to say about Barbashev? A lot of highlights on your page with this kid lately.
Yeah, Barbashev is an interesting case because he was a fifth-round pick, didn't really impress scouts enough to be drafted higher, but there's something about the Rangers and fifth-round picks in recent years, right?
I'm telling you, dude.
Payuniemi in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
Brett Berard in 2020.
Yup.
Now Barbashev in 2022. There's something to it with this Rangers team, with this organization, drafting high skill, high upside players in the fifth round. And Maxim Barbashev definitely fits that mold. He is playing in the QMJHL for the Moncton Wildcats. Has 5 goals and 5 assists for 10 points in as many games so far. But it's the way he plays. You know, he's always visible. You always notice him on the ice. And his team is off to a decent start. I think they're 6-3-1 so far. And I'm happy that the Rangers finally drafted a kid out of the QMJHL because I haven't really had an opportunity to cover that league in my prospect recaps and schedules because we haven't had a player in the QMJHL, prospect in the QMJHL to follow since maybe Ryan Graves.
I certainly can't think of anybody else. I mean, obviously Laffy first overall pick. He never went back to the Q.
So we'll see what happens with this kid. But younger brother of Ivan Barbashev, who's on the St. Louis Blues.
Huge Ivan Barbashev guy. Love him.
So we'll see. The kid's 18. He's turning 19 in December. So unfortunately, he won't be playing in the World Juniors because Russia is not invited. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him and the Moncton Wildcats. But he's a guy that could surprise people.
I think so. I love this kid.
I think the likelihood of him being an NHL player is not that high, but if he does, he's definitely more than just a fourth line winger.
Absolutely. A lot of people, you know what? I noticed this too when I was going through and watching some videos on Maxim Barbashev. This kid throws like massive hits. Like he's a tough mother effer, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And Ivan Barbashev, his brother, he put up I think 60-something points last year. Now.
That's actually that's a good question. Let me just look that up quickly for you.
Could have I know he had a monster year compared to where he's been at, and his brother is a little physical himself.
Yeah, no, he had 26 goals, 34 assists for 60 points in 81 games.
Hey, listen, if Maxim wants to follow in his brother's footsteps and become a 60-point player for the team that drafted him, I'm not going to stop him.
His previous career high for Ivan Barbashev was 26 points.
Holy Jesus. How old is Ivan
now? He's 26. He's turning 27 in December.
So a bit of a long journey for him to come along, but
yeah,
patience.
He reminds me a little bit of Adam Graves, who had that breakout year in '94.
Yeah. I like that.
I don't know if Maxim Barbashev will have the same trajectory, but it's just nice to have a player in your organization that is fun to watch.
Yes.
You're not just watching for face-off wins or hits.
Mm-hmm.
The guy actually makes things happen with the puck on a stick.
Right. And you would know more than me, but I believe it's not this season, it's not next season, but the season after, so it'd be 2 years from today, he's eligible to play professional, right? AHL?
Actually next year already because because he's turning 20 next year, December. So you can play in the AHL if you turn 20 by December 31st of that season.
That works out perfectly. So if Barbashev continues the trajectory that he's on with Moncton, very, very well possible we could see him in the AHL next year.
I wouldn't mind keeping him in the QMJHL for another year, though.
For another year?
Let him marinate, let him develop there. The same way Berard is in college for 3 full years.
Right.
Now.
Okay. I'm with that. Hey, whatever makes the kid buzz, because I'm a big fan of this kid.
But yeah, exciting player. And glad that we actually get to cover him because the 2010-22 draft, we may not have a lot of players to get excited about, but we have at least 3 that I really enjoy watching. I mean, the later picks weren't as sexy as you would have hoped, maybe. But yeah, I think the next guy is also from this draft, right?
Let's take a look. Bryce McConnell-Barker. Another Rangers prospect wearing the C with his respective team. Leadership, baby. What do you think?
The guy just turned 18 in June. You know, didn't have like productively a great season if you just look at his box score, 49 points in 68 games. But if you look a little bit closer into what he did for the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL, he played in a shutdown role on the third line in his draft year. He's very good defensively. His supporting game is probably his biggest contribution. You know, the biggest thing to focus on for him. And this season, he was named captain at age 18 of the Sioux Greyhounds. He has 4 goals and 4 assists for 8 points in 9 games so far on a team that has been terrible.
Yes.
They've only won 2 of their 9 games so far. But Bryce McConnell-Barker is that guy that you would look for when it comes to, you know, wanting some leadership out of a player. And he might not dazzle you with highlight reel goals, but it's his two-way play that really stands out.
Right. And at 6'2", 194 pounds, at the age of 18 years old, who knows? This kid could end up becoming a really solid, like you said, a third-line shutdown player. And to tell you the truth, you know, as much as I really want these kids to win, I want them to perform, I wonder if it benefits him to be the guy on a really bad team versus maybe just being a plug-in or a cog on a really good team in junior. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and if you play on a bad team and you are the standout player, you are faced with different challenges.
Right.
We saw that with Othman last year, as opposed to Will Cooley, who was on the Windsor Spitfires with a really good supporting cast. Will Cooley played with Wyatt Johnston, who now at age 19 is on the Dallas Stars. He scored on his NHL debut for them. But yeah, McConnell-Barker doesn't really have that. Unfortunately for him, doesn't have that supporting cast for the Sioux Greyhounds. But you know, it's not always a bad thing to be on a bad team in juniors. You know, it helps you, you know, build resiliency and it helps you deal with, you know, a bad season.
Right.
And I think a lot of players, when they get to the NHL, that's the first thing they struggle with. Because in a lot of cases, for the first time, they're not the best player on their team.
Right.
They're not on a team that always wins. And especially when you are drafted by a team that isn't winning everything the first couple of years, that can be an adjustment.
Absolutely.
But for Barbashev to be captaining that team, I think that's a really good move there. And yeah, what he did last season is very impressive if you know how he played. And I think that's the biggest takeaway here. You know, he plays a good shutdown game. If I'd have to compare him to a previous Rangers draft pick, I'd probably say Derek Stepan.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
So,
would you say, in terms of size, I'm looking at his numbers, and I did a little bit of a cross analysis just through looking at their junior numbers, and I noticed some parallels between Bryce McConnell-Barker and Philip Deneau. Maybe develop something like that. Again, a shutdown middle six center.
Yeah, and I mean, you always have to be careful when you make those comparisons because it might set unrealistic expectations.
Right.
But stylistically, the comparison can definitely be made. Will he get to that same level as Philip Deneau? Oof. If he can, that's very promising. I mean, Philip Deneau finished top 10 in Selke voting, I think, the last 2 seasons.
He took a long road to develop. If you remember, the Blackhawks traded him to the Montreal Canadiens for what seemed like pennies at the time.
Was that for Andrew Shaw?
I believe so. To reacquire Andrew Shaw. Shaw, yes. I believe so.
If there's one thing the Chicago Blackhawks really suck at, it's evaluating players in trades.
Oh my God, dude! I still can't believe they traded Panarin for Saad.
The Chicago Blackhawks were involved in 3 Brendan Saad trades, and they lost all 3.
Dude.
So let me just quickly, you know, take like a quick detour to go over the Brendan Saad trade. Right?
The saga.
The first time they traded Brendan Saad was to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Artem Anisi.
Yep.
Then they traded Panarin to get him back.
Yep.
And then they traded him away for Nikita Zadorov.
Yep.
Who then left the Blackhawks a year later.
Pretty much. I mean,
They lost all 3 Brendan Saw trades.
like
It's unbelievable.
significantly, like in a significant amount of that. Not to mention, this is the same organization that traded Teuvo Teravainen as a sweetener for the Carolina Hurricanes to take on Brian Bickle's contract.
Yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Look, and this is a team that won 3 Stanley Cups
Mm-hmm.
between 2010 and 2015.
Right.
So they won 50% of the Stanley Cups in those 6 seasons. They had some success, and instead of just going about it the right way, they tried to chase a 4th.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't think Blackhawks fans care that much, though. It's a lot easier to make those mistakes when you have 3 Stanley Cups in your back pocket.
Right, especially in recent
But
history.
it is still interesting to see the bad trades they've made over the years.
Absolutely. Moving on from Bryce McConnell-Barker. Matthew Robertson. Now, this is a kid that when we first got him, he was a steal of the draft, we thought. Year 1 after his draft, looked pretty good. Last year, people were a little iffy. Then he hops into this year, and man, started off 4 assists in 3 games. And this kid is cool as a cucumber, as smooth as it gets on the back end. Safe to say he'll be an NHL defenseman one day, but in what capacity? At 6'4", 200 pounds? I don't know, man. I see an NHL player here. What do you think?
Yeah, I know it's still early, only 3 games into the season, but he is assisted on 4 of the Wolfpack's goals. He leads the team in points.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put that out there.
Solid.
Robertson is having the same issue Nils Lundkvist is having.
Mm-hmm.
Robertson is behind Zach Jones on the depth chart.
Yep.
And the same way Lundkvist was behind Braden Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
If Robertson is happy to stay in the AHL one more year, I think there's a future in New York for him.
Absolutely.
Because at some point, as much as we hate to talk about it, at some point, the Rangers have to make moves to free up money.
Yep.
And one of those moves could be Ryan Lindgren.
You know what? I was thinking that.
If you look at the Rangers' situation financially, they have to move a player with a significant cap hit. So you're talking about $3 million or more.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from Adam Fox, who doesn't have a no move clause because he's too young for one, everyone who you would otherwise move to free up a significant amount of money has a no trade or no move clause.
Yep. And naming Trouba captain, despite his no movement clause ending in 2 years, I believe, right? 2 seasons? Probably not looking to move him.
Yeah. In 2 seasons, his no move clause expires. It turns into a limited no trade clause. But with him being named captain, I don't see him moving. So if Lindgren does get traded away for cap relief, then you might be looking at a guy like Robertson to step in. Maybe not on that top pair. They might move Miller up to play with Fox the same way McDonough was moved up to play with Girardi a decade ago.
Yep.
And then your second pair could be maybe Jones Trouba.
That would be nice. That would be an interesting dynamic.
And then your third pair could be Robertson Schneider, who played together a lot at younger age levels, on all-star teams, on Team Canada. So there is familiarity there. They both come from the WHL. So maybe that's something to build on. If Robertson develops the way we hope him to, I could see a future for him in New York. But I wouldn't put money on it because he could also be a victim of the rebuild.
Absolutely.
And by victim of the rebuild, I mean it's not that he won't be good enough to be in the NHL. It's just that he's not good enough to be the number 1 choice for a call-up.
Right. I think you're 100% right there.
And if they can trade him to a team that has a spot for him right away, and they can get a good package for him, the same way they got a good package for Nils Lundkvist, a trade like that could be in the books as well. But let's see what happens. It's only 3 games into the season. He's leading the team in points. He switched his number from 24 to 44, which is a bit of an adjustment for me. And I got used to that number 24 over the last season. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Interesting to see how he develops this year in Hartford. And the Wolfpack have a hard time defensively because there's a lot of turnover there.
Yes.
Jared Tenorti was claimed off waivers by Chicago. Nils Lundkvist was traded to Dallas. You have Jones and Schneider that were called up to New York full time. Betetto and Reunanen were traded away at the deadline last March.
Yep.
That's. I'm not saying that these players are amazing, all of them. Like someone like Beteto or Reunion, you can replace them, but it's still the turnover. It's still replacing them with new guys that have to adjust to a system. And so the first couple of games in Hartford, you might see some adjustments there, but I think Robertson's off to a good start. So let's hope he builds on that.
Absolutely. And you could definitely argue that right now, the New York Rangers defense is one injury away from Matthew Robertson being possibly on the team and then making a case for a spot.
Yeah, true.
Moving on now. Last but not least, Adam freaking Sikora. I think a pick the Rangers had where it almost unified a fan base, because I don't recall going on Twitter, after the draft and seeing one person be like pissed off that we draft this kid. It just seems universally across the board a very well-liked kid, pretty good player, possibly fills in some sort of Jesper Foss role in the NHL, and that it appears that he could play up and down the lineup anywhere. He's got a pretty silky set of mitts on him too. What do you like the most about Adam Sikora, and where do you see him going from this year to next year to the year after? What do you think his 3-year trajectory is?
Well, you talked about Ryan Callahan as a comparison when we spoke about Hoffman. I think when it comes to Adam Sikora, that's an interesting comparison to make if we're talking about former Rangers. I think the comparison that I still stick to is Artturi Lehkonen.
Okay, love that.
Artturi Lehkonen was drafted around the same spot, I think 62nd instead of 63rd overall. Also played in Europe after being drafted. Of course, Sikora is not eligible to play in the AHL his first season of an ELC, but he will be next year. So he's back in Slovakia with Nitra. He has 4 assists in his first 7 games.
Decent.
And actually, the 8th game of the season just finished, and he had a goal. And I'm gonna mention this because it's pretty remarkable. He had a goal, a power play goal in an 8-1 loss, and he was not a minus player, which means he was not on the ice for any of the 8 goals against.
You got me sold on this kid, dude. I'm a big Adam Sikora guy, and I think you're right too. I think the Ryan Callahan, I could see it in him, dude. He's just a feisty guy. And that assist that he had, was it the World Championship where he danced around that one guy? Where he danced around dude and passed it across for the assist? Was that World Championship or World Juniors?
That was the World Juniors in July or August.
So silky. Oh,
that was a
so
really
sick.
nice goal. Yeah, that was amazing. But this kid's years away. We're talking about a kid that only turned 18 last month.
Yeah.
He was among the youngest in his draft class. He missed the cutoff for next year's draft by 8 days.
He's a pup.
But he's played professional hockey since he was 16 years old. He played for Nitra in the Slovak first tier. He played for Levice in the Slovak second tier. And then last season for Nitra, he played in 46 games, 10 goals, 7 assists. And in the playoffs, he had 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points in 19 games. But he played for every possible Slovak team last year. He played for the under-18s in the World Juniors under-18 Division 1A. He played for Slovak under-20 team in the World Juniors. He played for the Slovak national team in the World Championships. This kid is relied on at a young age by coaches to play in big roles. And the last couple of years, a lot of prospect guys have talked about this Slovak generation. You have Juraj Slavkovsky, first overall, Simon Nemec, second overall, Filip Mešar, who was a late first-round pick by Montreal, Adam Sikora. Next year, we have Dalibor Dvorsky, who is a potential top 10 pick. I'm just happy that we got one of these Slovak kids of this amazing generation. And this is the best Slovak generation since the Gaborik generation. So it's going to be fun to watch, and it might be a couple of years before he's in New York. But this kid, he's small. He's I think 5'10". Let me see. Yeah, he's 5'10", 172 pounds. But he doesn't play like it. He's relied on to play on a penalty kill. And what stands out the most to me is his play without the puck. The way he moves himself into position to receive the puck, or the way he moves himself into position to cut off passing lanes, especially on the penalty kill. That's really impressive to do that at this age in professional hockey against grown-ups.
A lot of maturity here with this kid. Now, do you
Yeah.
see him next year as well, staying in the Czech leagues, or do you see him making the jump to North America and the AHL? What do you think about that? Do you think he's going to wait another year after next year?
It's possible for him to play in the AHL next season.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what Drury wants, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it really relies on what Sikora wants as well.
Right.
Now, what I would love to see, which is a little less likely now to be signed as ELC, but I love the Arturi Lekkonen
Mm-hmm.
career trajectory. You know,
Okay.
after he was drafted, he played 1 season in Finland,
Okay.
his home country, then 2 seasons in Sweden, and then he made the jump at age 21 straight to the NHL.
Okay.
Arturi Lekkonen never played a game in the AHL, straight to the NHL.
See, I can
Straight
get
to the
behind
Montreal
that.
Canadiens.
I could absolutely get behind that.
I would rather see Adam Sikora play 2 seasons in Sweden, you know,
Mm-hmm.
refining his game, rounding out a skill set, and then
Right.
make the jump right away at age 21,
Right.
than go to the AHL, only play on weekends, and you know, be a healthy scratch for 30% of the games because they play 3 games in a row.
Right. If anything, that would just completely stunt.
Yeah,
His
and in the
development
SHL, there's just far more structure. You play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday
Right.
every week. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's a makeup game on a Friday or a Wednesday, but 9 out of 10 times it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. There's more structure in the Swedish league than in the AHL.
Absolutely. Now, when you're looking at Adam Sikora within this Czech league, where do you see him fitting in?
Slovak league.
Slovak. I'm sorry, Slovak league. Right. I'm sorry. I had Czech on my mind. Where do you see him amongst players in this league? Would you put him in the top 25%, top 10%, top 50%? Where do you see him fitting in as a complete player? Let's say pretend you're doing a fantasy draft. We're going to pretend there's 30 teams in the Slovak league. Where do you see him going?
Like right now, it's
Right now,
hard to say because it is only a handful of games in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a top 10 player in the Slovak league just yet. And this is why I'm happy with him going back to the Slovak league because there's still room for him to grow.
Absolutely.
Same with Brennan Othman. We can talk about Brennan Othman and wanting him in Hartford and this and that and missing the cutoff by 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
But Othman still has room to grow in the OHL.
Right.
Sikora has room to grow in the Slovak league.
Absolutely.
So I'm okay with him playing there.
I think it's good too. Actually, I really like your idea with this with the Swedish league. I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, and what really for me, what would really be interesting, if he does go to the Swedish league like Lekkonen did, he's also eligible to play for his national team throughout the season. Like in Europe, the national hockey teams have like tournaments throughout the season.
Right.
They have a tournament in August and one in November and one in December and one in February, where they call it the Four Nations.
Right.
Where they just play a couple of international games, and that experience is very important for a young player.
That's huge. Representing your country, that's a big honor.
It's also about the honor of representing your country, but I think getting on a plane with your team and flying to Sweden to play in a 3-day tournament against other countries is a much better experience than hopping on a bus to Springfield.
On a bus to Springfield. Oh my god, go. Yeah, hopping on over to go play the Henderson Silver Knights in the freaking middle of nowhere. Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that. Well, man, so there you go, guys. Your top 5 New York Rangers prospects to look out for in the 2022-2023 season. Now, I don't know about you, Steven, but I am still like shaking with excitement for the future of this Rangers team. Like, I can't remember the last time that I, as a Ranger fan, was able to sit back and get excited for prospects that weren't like mid-tier prospects, like prospects with like actual formidable NHL futures. Like, we're not talking about like, oh man, that Christian Thomas kid's coming, or like Michael St. Croix, like these guys who were good prospects in their own right, but we're looking at some guys that like we could see on this team making a huge difference in the winning culture that Chris Drury wants the Rangers to have. Like, we can kind of look into the future, and I noticed that we were doing it too, like where these guys could fit in the lineup. Like, man, this is a really exciting time to be a Ranger fan.
Yeah, and it's not just that, but it's also looking at guys like that we haven't even mentioned, like someone like Bill Cooley, who's now in
Yep.
Hartford,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and Ryder Korzak, who went from the WHL to Hartford as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we might. I'm pretty sure not all of them will make it to the NHL, but at
Mm-hmm.
least they're exciting to watch.
Right, and track them.
And the one guy we haven't really touched on yet that probably deserves an honorable mention is Jaden Gruby in the WHL.
Oh yeah.
Plays for the Red Deer the Red Deer. Well,
Rebel.
sorry, the Red Deer Rebels.
There
Devils. Red Deer Rebels. He's their captain for the third consecutive season.
Mm-hmm.
He has 13 points in 8 games. So, and at age 19, age 19, age 20, you expect a player to do that, but
right.
After the disappointing season last year, when it comes to production, you only had 35 points in 68 games. And I know production is not everything, but you want a little bit more from a guy who was a third-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This year, he's off to a better start, and hopefully he can build on this, because the Rangers have to make a decision on him in June. His NHL rights expire June 1st.
Do you think there's a chance that, I know you mentioned it with Ottman, when the season ends, that he makes a jump over professional, that we possibly see a Jaden Grube AHL contract at the end of the year?
It could be an ATO, an amateur tryout that they've done in the past with players from juniors to join the Wolfpack. Othman doesn't have to sign a tryout because he's under contract already.
Okay.
So he can go straight to the Wolfpack if they ask him to and if he wants to. I would love to see Othman on the NHL though.
Absolutely.
Like at the end of the season, give him a couple of games. The last time the Rangers called up a junior player at after the season started was 1989.
What? Who is that?
Only 3 times in Rangers history has the team called up a juniors player mid-season.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 1968, Walt Tkachuk.
Oh my God.
1981, John Van Beesbroek.
Okay.
And 1989, Mark Janssens.
Oh my God.
Of course, there's examples like Chris Kreider, who came over from college, but I'm talking specifically about juniors here.
Dude, that's insane. Oh my God.
And John Van Beesbroek was actually an emergency call-up in December because the Rangers didn't have any goalies. So they called him up from juniors. He played a game and then went back.
Oh my God. The Rangers.
So technically, it is possible to call up Othman sooner, but it would only be under an emergency call-up, which is highly unlikely.
Yeah.
And has to be approved by the league. So the earliest I expect Othman to be in New York is going to be April.
And I think at that point, when he's 130 points into his OHL season, I think he'll be ready.
Let's hope so.
Fingers crossed. All right, guys, that about wraps it up here. I appreciate you all coming out for the stream today. It was a lot of fun. Steven, thank you as always. Always an absolute pleasure and a blast to have you on, brother, man. Great insight. If you're not already following him on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. If you're not doing this whole Rangers fandom thing right. If you're not following at Statboy Steven on Twitter, I'll link him in the description of the video that gets uploaded down below. I have him already. I got him linked on my Twitter. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And, hey, we'll see you next time. New York Rangers puck drop in 58 minutes. Let's go, baby.
Let's go.